So now, without further ado, we'll start our program. We have a very exciting and interactive learning experience planned for this evening using a collaborative process called the Technology Participation Process, or TOP. It very much speaks to Benjamin Franklin's philosophy that you see here, that learning may be best accomplished through direct experience. We'll be facilitated by three highly accomplished professionals trained in the process. Helen Kessler, an environmental expert in sustainability and lead design and president of H.J. Kessler Associates. Wave, Helen. And Michelle Hawley-Stern, sustainability and facilitation expert and principal of the Green Facilitator. Thanks, Michelle. And Sharon Crone, executive coach, corporate facilitator, and principal of Sharon Crone Consulting, and master of all trades. All things wonderful. So tonight we're going to explore what an innovative learning environment is, explore tools and strategies to support learning in our organizations, and develop some ideas that are applicable to our different positions and companies. The way our evening is going to go, we'll have a brief presentation sharing some of the ideas that are developed around a culture of self-driven lifelong learning that integrates with innovation in corporations today. And then we'll break into three groups, actually two groups now, just two groups, Group 1 and Group 2, and you have a number on your name tag indicating which group you'll be with. And we'll explore what we've heard in the presentation and how it might apply to our companies. So we'd like to initiate that process in this first part by just asking you to spend maybe 60 seconds and think about learning from your own perspective today and some of your experiences. What do you think innovative learning is? How is innovative learning accomplished in your organization? And we'll just take maybe 60 seconds, jot down a few thoughts around those two questions, and you might want to use those later as your part of the brainstorms to see kind of where you're coming from right now and where you might be coming from at the end of the evening. And Courtney will share some of the current thinking on the connection between innovation and learning.
Thanks, Janice. So, becoming a learning organization, what does that mean? We live in a very fast-paced business environment. Our rate of change is increasing and our time to market is decreasing. It's also known as the speed of business. Corporate leaders view learning as a critical issue and investment in corporate training is at an all-time high. But these leaders have also realized that while traditional learning does have its place, that content is just part of the answer. This is where continual innovation comes into play. And that requires continual learning and most likely means thinking outside the box or potentially asking yourself the question, what don't I know that I don't know? And leaders all over the world are asking the same questions. How do I develop my most valuable asset, which is my team of people? How do I continue to innovate? And what tools can I use to capture and exchange knowledge? In fact, over 50% of the ideas shared from Workshop 1, Creating a Culture of Engagement, we all thought that these were very valuable ideas, and some of the ideas that were commented and created about developing L&D programs in a learning environment were potentially doing things such as creating an internal university within your company, doing lunch and learns, support L&D by creating career goals that are revisited throughout the year, or potentially even sponsoring internships. And so for the first time ever, we have 4 generations of people working in the workforce. So people that were born prior to 1945 all the way up to those born in 1997 are working together. And companies must work their way through and manage extreme age, gender, and ethnic diversities for the first time ever. And the big question these companies are asking themselves are, how do you get all generations to not only work together, but to learn and communicate with each other? And the way that a lot of companies are doing this is by embracing the 70-20-10 model, which really is it's changing companies' mindset to become a learning organization. They realize they have to allow for everyone in the company to learn in order for it to really become what everyone does on a daily basis. So the 70-20-10 model was created in the 1980s by researchers at the Center for Creative Leadership, and it's embraced by Charles Jennings in his work with clients. It's a robust approach to strengthen and align learning and development with organizational performance needs. And the main quality behind this model is that it realizes learning is more than traditional training events, such as seminars or online training. It is really based on the fact that people learn in 3 different ways. 70% of the way that people learn is called experiential. It's on the job. It's just what you do every day. 20% is very social. It comes from having conversations in the pantry or, walking to the copier area and chatting with somebody like, hey, how are you, coming along on that lease abstract or what have you. And then 10% is really only is the traditional training concepts. So one of the statistics said that people forget 50% of what they learn in a classroom setting within an hour if they don't practice it, even if you test them. The 70-20-10 model implements techniques such as performance support, social learning, and redesigning the work process, and again, really creating an environment where sharing knowledge is common practice. We have a short video that will further explain the concept to you, so we're going to take a look at that. Okay, so pretty interesting, huh? So does it really work? A survey of over 1,600 learners and 600 leadership and development leaders found that they're 4 times more likely to be able to respond at the speed of business. Their staff is 3 times more motivated, and we all know that motivated staff means better bottom line for all of us, and their customers are 2 times more likely to feel satisfied in their dealings with the company. The 70-20-10 model also overcomes 2 major problems with traditional learning methods, which are cost and timeliness. Organizations expect their people, again, to be able to learn at the speed of business, and this method allows for that. And this is exactly why companies are now refocusing their learning development programs on that 90%, the 70 and the 20, and realizing that they don't have to spend as much money or time in physical spaces training their people. So how does this look in real life? I'm going to turn that over to Janice, and she can talk about a company that completely embraced the 70-20-10 model.
Thanks, Courtney. Before I talk a little about Adidas, I wanted to relate a story about the client I work with right now, in that they've developed 5 different work floors in their health insurance company, and just through changing the way that they develop their product in a more social and interactive way, they've shown in surveys that they've changed their speed of development by 20%. They've increased their relationship building within staff by 20 to 30%. They've increased creativity in the same kind of percentages. So it's been pretty remarkable in a 2-year period that those kinds of changes in how they're allowing information to be exchanged and learning to happen directly between people in their jobs and in a social atmosphere has dramatically changed their business. And another company that is exploring that is the Adidas Group. They're in the process of rolling out a group learning campus on a worldwide basis that is based on the fact that they're repositioning their L&D as their competitive advantage. they see learning and its connection to information exchange and knowledge transfer as their key to continue to innovate in their company and be the leader in their industry. So this little model that you see on the left is their idea of how those three things are integrated and that they continue to play off of each other. Learning, knowledge transfer, knowledge sharing, innovation, learning, knowledge transfer, innovation. And they are creating their learning environments in both physical manner. This is an example of the type of learning classroom that they have, which is not a classroom at all. It's an interactive space where teams come together and experiment with prototypes and talk about ideas and do some of what we're going to do today, which is brainstorming and sharing thoughts to develop new things. And they said that one of the most important things about marketing their new vision is making learning fun and engaging and hip, and making it something that their population, which is over 50% people who are 30 years old or younger, are willing to embrace and make part of their work life. So as part of that, they developed a little video that kind of shows their vision. So when I first saw this, I thought it kind of looked a lot like our video. And so I was happy that we were kind of in the hip generation of marketing ourselves in a way that really responds to a broad generation of people who are going to be interested in what we're doing. So that made me really happy. So I hope it felt like our video to you too. But in terms of overall thinking, what Adidas is doing that's different than many companies is they're providing access to learning for anyone, everywhere, anytime, so that you can acquire knowledge and skills in a variety of ways, and you can really be the leader of your own career and personal development, and that's really key. Their space, as I mentioned, is different than a traditional classroom. It's both a non-traditional space, non-traditional workplace, and a digital world. So you can connect any of those ways that meets your needs during the day. Their employees are encouraged to both teach and learn. So you're not waiting for your fearless leader to teach you everything you need to know. You are sharing your knowledge with others, and others are sharing it with you. And your leaders are providing opportunities in everything that they engage their staff in to learn on the job about what they're doing. So the workplace that Adidas is developing is really beginning to change the way the workplace is designed so that they can embed learning in their work every day. And that is something many design firms are being asked to do by their clients. And Kathy Lanny's going to tell you a little bit about her work and some of her clients in that regard.
So yes, we're asked all the time to create collaborative and innovative spaces. This is an example of a project we did for a client who was really willing to embrace change. Not everyone is. This is a neighborhood. There's about 4 neighborhoods per floor, and people don't have an assigned seat. You're assigned to a neighborhood, and you're assigned to a locker. So every day you come into the space and you decide where you want to sit. So if you're doing something quiet, you can sit into a quiet room, or you can sit against the window. If you're working with a team, you can sit in a collaboration area or in a room if you don't want people to hear you. If you want to stand, you can stand. If you want to be by the window, you can be by the window. So you have choice for what you want to do that day. And, there are 4 different generations, so there's a big age range. So people work in different ways. So you get to work how you feel most comfortable, which is more productive for you as well, if you're not too hot or too cold, or the sun's in your eyes, or someone's being noisy. So this is really productive for them. We were also talking about how with different generations, you learn from, the youngest person in the office can learn from the oldest person in the office. Maybe typically that oldest person would be in an office that you never see with a door. Now everyone's together in the same area. So there are different neighborhoods, and that doesn't mean that you don't see the people in the other neighborhoods. In this project, we have a big social hub. So everyone is forced to go to that social hub to get their coffee or to get their lunch, and you run into people there where you have conversations. And that's something else that sparks innovation. You're assigned to neighborhoods and so this project is for Lend Lease, and they have different groups. So like their development group is a neighborhood. So you can have a different amount of workstations. And actually everyone is assigned, there's one work point per person. So every work point has a monitor on it. They also have another work point that's a collaboration area. So it's like smaller, but you have more choice on where to go. So, I mean, it's not something that most clients want to do. You really have to get used to it. There's a lot of change management involved in it, but it's working for them. So there's really 3 different trends that we're seeing in the workplace. One is the collaboration that we just talked about and being open. And this is another example. This was a project for Skender Construction that we did. And their executives all sit in one room next to each other at this table. So they hear each other all day long. They don't have the big office with the door and the secretary. They, and if you have to make a private conversation, there are rooms off of this room that you can go to. I mean, obviously you need some privacy, but also the employees sit around them and they can see who's there that day. So it's just very open and transparent. Also, just revaluing face-to-face communications, like I talked about with that social hub, designing spaces where you force people to go, where you force people to interact with each other. Also, stairs or pantries or lobbies. There's a lot of different ways to do that. And lastly, technology, which there's a lot of components to technology. This slide is our new Perkinsville office in the Wrigley building. That's our roof deck. So you can pick up your laptop and go outside and work on the roof deck on a nice day. And so that's a huge bonus. And technology is also collaboration and just display. And we wouldn't be having this conversation without technology. So it's a good point to end on. So now, I'm going to turn it over to Helen and Michelle, and we're going to get into our groups.
Hello, everybody. I want you first to look at your name tag and see what number is on there. If you have a 3 on your name tag, raise your hand. No one does. Oh, well, it's taken care of. All right, great. We are going to split up into 2 groups by these lovely, colorful walls. If you have a 1 on your name tag, you're going to make your way over to here, not just yet. And if you have a 2, you're going to come over to this part of the room. Sharon and Helen and I are all trained in a facilitation technique called TOP, which stands for Technology of Participation. We're going to be using this method in what we call a consensus workshop, where it brings ideas together and quickly groups them together in a consensus. That's it's called a consensus workshop. The purpose is the question that you see posted over here is we're going to be answering the question, how can you promote innovative learning in your organization? Obviously, there are different answers for different organizations, but we're hoping that we're going to come up with ideas that everybody can use. Just to give you a couple of kind of background on how TOP works, the highlights of TOP are that you have a consensus and a shared ownership of the ideas, that all voices are heard, that everyone has wisdom, and that everyone's wisdom is needed to have the most wisest choice. But we're also using structured frameworks. In this, what is going to happen is we are going to first start out individually answering this question. Then we're going to get into small groups, probably pairs, to discuss what we wrote. And then we're going to come up with these, you see these colorful pieces of paper. We're going to write cards. We're going to put them up on the sticky walls and group them together and arrange them. This will be about an hour, the whole process that we're going to be doing, but we're going to start with some context. Helen is going to lead us through a conversation.
All right, so I want to ask a couple of questions based on what you heard just now, the presentation. And so I'm going to start with one question. I'm going to ask for maybe 5 of you to answer the question. And I'm looking for just like 3 words to answer the question. I'm not looking for a big, long answer. So the first question is, name a quality of innovative learning. 3 words.
Open.
Open.
Honest.
Honest.
Curious.
Curious. Anybody else?
Out of the box.
Out of the box. Anybody else?
Safe.
Safe.
Unique. Unique.
Unique. Okay. what ideas, again, just a few words, what ideas about innovative learning were new to you? Anybody?
How little formal training really sticks.
How little formal training sticks. What else?
How important community is.
How important community is. Anybody else? What ideas about innovative learning environments was new to you?
Training on your own.
Training on your own.
How much we forgotten in the first hour.
How much we forget in the first hour? Like, how much have I already forgotten, right?
Makes me question college.
Tracy.
Promoting and rewarding sharing.
Promoting and rewarding sharing. So, anybody else? Okay, so another question. Where did you find yourself nodding your head in agreement? Anybody? Yeah.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay.
70-20-10.
70-20-10.
The importance of sharing.
The importance of sharing.
The idea of reflection.
The idea of reflection.
The experiential learning is way more important than just traditional learning.
Experiential is more important than traditional. Cindy.
The part about you're a learner, but you're also the teacher.
You're a learner and a teacher. Okay. What do you think is the most important underlying message?
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Okay.
It's different.
Be open.
You gotta do it differently.
You got to do it differently.
Be open.
Be open. Anybody else?
You can't learn something once and that's it.
You can't learn once and that's it.
Right.
It's non-going.
It's continuous.
Continuous process. How would innovative learning be beneficial to your organization? Anybody?
It's almost, look, what's not.
Right. Maybe that's a bad question. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty clear. So now we're going to go into this workshop, and I want you to all be thinking about how should we take these ideas forward as we answer the questions, how can you promote innovative learning in your organizations? So, does anybody have any quick thoughts about what they would say, how we should take this forward in the workshop, and how we should promote innovative learning in your organization? One or two ideas?
Like the technology idea that was in the first video. I don't know much about it, but where everybody's sharing something on a regular basis.
Okay, technology and sharing on a regular basis. Okay, great. All right, so I'll tell you what we'll do. So that group is number 2, and this group is number 1. And if you've got a number 2, you're going over here. You may need to move chairs around. We have, I think there are around 12 per group, 12 people per group. So let's move.
Thank you, Helen and Michelle. We're going to bring both our groups together, both sides of this party together into one big party now. And we're going to together collaborate and see, you can kind of turn your chairs halfway. We want to get everyone's ideas now together into the center of the room, answering the question. And Olivia, could you please read the question for us that we're addressing?
How can you promote innovative learning in your own organization?
How can you promote innovative learning in your own organization? And what we'd like to do, if everyone can give me your attention, nice. We'd like to...
Sharon, can you talk at the mic, please?
Oh,
The
yeah.
mic that you have isn't a mic.
Okay, oh, yeah, okay, good.
Oh, that's right.
Ooh, I'm way over here. Ooh. All right, so I'd like to go back and forth, one group from group 1 to group 2 to group 1 to group 2. And I'd like, starting with Jerry, if you wouldn't mind, Jerry, reading the very first just the very first card of the idea that your group came up with. Would you mind, please?
Value the weird.
And could you share with all of us what were the ideas that contributed to value the weird?
Being open to others' questions, being encouraging, encourage thinking outside the box, being open to non-conforming ideas. Just try it and then tweak it.
Great, thank you. And can we start here on your first card? Carol, please.
Our first is continual learning and teaching. Lunch and learns on what's happening. Having lunch and learns given by younger staff. Divide and teach a topic from a book. Project site field trips. Ask team members what's important for them to learn. Turn training into learning. Have regular team lunch and learn. Junior staff teach senior staff. Adopt formal mentorship programs, 1 learn per week.
Great, thank you. And Sarah, would you mind sharing the next choice?
Sure. We have encourage everyone's ideas. Encourage the questions, allow for the time to answer. Encourage others to lean in, speak up. Create the young teacher. Ask people for their opinions. And create tools to use within the workplace.
Thank you. Courtney, would you mind reading the next?
Mix them up. Having employees work in different departments for a day, relocate people to different seats frequently, find other related groups to share with, role exchange or task share, different team members can lead regular meetings.
Great, thank you. Tracy, would you mind?
Sure. We have reinforce behavior, teach star of the week, implement 1 learning a day on a small scale, designate or volunteer subject matter experts as leaders, reward sharing of new ideas, reward the value of learning tangibly, and demonstrate benefits of innovative learning.
Great, thank you. Kathy, would you mind? Thank you.
Spread info wide and fast. Sharing newly learned information as it arises. Share specific learned items in weekly meetings. Share market intelligence or project process. Make a shared chat space for the team. Create a social, educational, and informational hub, physical or digital. Create ways for continual sharing of information. Break down barriers for communication between people.
Great, thank you. Amy, would you mind?
Dynamic interchanges, lunch and learn brainstorming, engage in more spontaneous meetings, lunch and learns, pair 2 people from different departments, lunch next to someone new daily, social learning through shared activities.
Thank you. Sophie?
Keep on asking questions. Exchange ideas on a particular topic or challenge. Designate or ask for volunteers for topic gurus. Encourage asking questions. Interview your clients in their office. Maintain an open door policy. Ask for team member suggestions for topics.
Great, thank you. Who haven't I spoken to here? Cindy, would you read for us?
Okay, constructs to promote engagement. Create a situation resolve blog. Physical digital message board to share ideas. Schedule idea learning exchange time. Collaboration between communities of interest, between different companies. Regularly share lessons learned. Create a common understanding.
Thank you. Heejin?
Yes. Challenge, collaborate, and create. Team problem solving. Promote more brainstorming meetings. Challenge standard operating procedures. Next generation on projects. Spread onboarding responsibility among larger group.
Great, thank you. And Melissa?
Okay, mix it up. Cross-generational foster sharing culture 2 degrees of separation. Promote teaching across departmental barriers. Encourage sharing of actual experiences. Invite others to ride along at work. Foster greater involvement of employees/leaders in teaching. And collaborate across department lines.
Great, thank you. First of all, this is amazing, right? All these ideas out of one room. Of all these ideas, what is really exciting to you? Get a couple ideas out there.
More sharing.
Great, more sharing. What else?
The mix them up categories. Well,
Mix them up. There are 2 mix them up categories. Yeah, great. What else? What's exciting that you see on this board? These boards.
Value the weird. Just
Value the
the
weird.
sort of widespread idea that sharing information is good for organizations, because for a long time, people tended to hoard information.
Yeah.
And the fact that companies are more open and more prone to share a lot of information now.
More open, this
Yeah.
idea of greater
It's really
openness. So of these ideas, Tracy?
oh, I was gonna say, I mean, like, to me, just sort of thinking about all of this stuff is like forgetting that there's a box in the first place.
Interesting. Yeah. So what ideas do you think have the greatest resonance for you in your organizations?
Just getting people together regularly to share information.
Getting people together
Because
regularly to share information.
Yeah, the people tend to get into their own groove.
Having a tool for it. Having something that everyone acknowledges that that's what we use to communicate with.
So having a part of the culture that there's this tool that people use to share information. Thank you. Sarah.
It goes along with that, but specifically sharing across different departments or silos, because, you know, what I'm doing in accounting, people in development or sales and marketing might not understand, and vice versa. So, you know, that can open you up to new creative ideas, thinking about the entire project. So.
Great. So as you look at this whole group of ideas separated into these categories, what is one thing that you think you can take back to your organization tomorrow that could make a difference for you in helping to promote an innovative learning environment in your organization?
I like the create the young teacher concept.
Say more, Sophie? Say more about that?
Well, it's a concept that we had a little bit over here as well, but I'm encouraging junior staff to teach senior staff. It gives the junior people a little bit of a chance to step up, and I think it would help kind of give the senior staff maybe a break from the responsibility of teaching, but also the opportunity to learn, because often as you move up in the world, you find yourself learning, maybe, perhaps, there's the fear that you learn a little less in your day and you're spending time babysitting and managing. So I like the switch up to keep it fresh for both sides.
Great. So you think you could take that back to your organization? Having more junior staff bring learning to more senior staff. Great.
And I think it'll help too in terms of it'll help the senior staff think of things in a different way,
Exactly.
which I think we all could benefit from.
Yeah, don't get it right. Yeah.
So encourage innovation by having younger people teach more senior people. Great. What else? What else do you think you can take back to your organization as a way to promote an innovative learning environment? Jer?
At the Red Cross, we've got 60 people all working remotely from home, so some of this is really difficult, but the collaboration between communities of interest is one thing that we can do even though you're sitting in your bedroom on your computer. So trying to figure out how to incorporate these into remote learning environments is, I think, is the one thing that we don't do enough of.
Yeah, so Jerry, you bring up an interesting challenge in organizations that don't necessarily have all the pieces in place to naturally become very innovative. What's one thing that you could do to introduce a little bit of innovation into the organization? Yes, Melissa.
Well, I know just within my small group, within our larger company, I'm definitely going to encourage our staff, especially because we have 3 new staff members, to share something every week that they learned this week on their job.
Great.
Or share a lesson learned, something they overcame, or something that was difficult, so that we can all just like promote that brainstorming and learn something from them.
Thank you. I love that idea. Let's give an applause to just this idea of a takeaway. One more takeaway of something that you learned today that you will return to your office, and you did something useful tonight, and you came up with a way that you can introduce this idea of innovation into your culture.
Well, I just think this whole 70-20-10 concept and really reinforcing the 70-20-10 concept and reinforcing that most learning that sticks happens experientially, and then the 20%, which is collaborative, and it's the 10% formal stuff that doesn't really, that is more expensive to do and more time consuming to do, but also tends not to stick.
So this idea of bringing back this concept to your organization,
Right.
that
Right.
experiential learning is the most valuable kind of learning,
Yeah.
and then kind of sharing communal learning, and at the bottom of the list is formal training.
Right.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much. This closes our focus brainstorm session.
Awesome.